It's almost 3 a.m. and I'm still just here, sitting on the couch, staring at the muted TV screen. The blue light from some infomercial is the only thing illuminating the living room, casting long, distorted shadows of the furniture. Rachel's not home. Hasn't been since... I don't even know. Yesterday afternoon? The day before? Time's all jumbled. We had a fight. Or, no, I had a fight. She just left. Said something about needing space, needing to breathe. And honestly, for a split second, a real stupid second, I thought, okay, fair enough. We've all been there, right? Need to cool off. But it wasn't fair. Not this time. This isn't just a regular fight. Not like the ones we've had before, where you just knew she'd be back in an hour, maybe two, to cool off, and then we'd talk it through, usually over some stale pizza and a movie we'd both seen 100 times. This feels different, like a definitive line got drawn in the sand. And I'm pretty sure I'm standing on the wrong side. Or worse, there's no side left to be on at all. It's just a chasm. We've been together for 13 years, married for 10 this coming October. 10 years. I'm 38. She's 37. You build a whole life around someone, you know? A house, a dog named Gus, who snores louder than a freight train. Stupid inside jokes that no one else would ever get. The way she hums off key when she's making coffee every morning. All these little things that just become background noise, part of the fabric, until suddenly they're deafening in their absence. And I just keep replaying her words, her face. The way her eyes got all wide, almost scared, but also hard. Like she was looking at a stranger, like I was a stranger. And maybe I was, maybe I am. It all started, I guess, with the anniversary. Or what I thought was the anniversary. Our 10th wedding anniversary. Coming up soon, October 17th. I had it marked on the calendar. Had a dinner reservation at that little Italian place she loves. Tickets to that weird indie play she wanted to see. I was even planning a whole weekend getaway to the coast. Just us. I thought I was on top of it for once. You know, making an effort, really trying to impress her after a while where maybe I hadn't been as present as I should have. But then she dropped it out of nowhere, right in the middle of dinner last night. Not dinner for the anniversary, just Tuesday night dinner, burnt lasagna that I'd made. You really don't get it, do you, Eric? She said, pushing her plate away, the fork clattering against the ceramic. And I just stared. Fork halfway to my mouth, a piece of char on it. I mean, what was there to get? I was trying. I really was. Get what, Rachel? The anniversary. I've got it all planned. But she cut me off, her voice flat, devoid of any warmth. It's not just the anniversary, is it? It's everything. It's always been everything with you. Her voice was so quiet, almost a whisper, but it hit me like a physical blow. That's when I knew this wasn't about a forgotten date or even a badly cooked meal. This was about something much, much bigger. Something I hadn't even begun to see, and now it feels like it's too late. The silence in this house now, it just screams. Funny how you look back, isn't it? You try to trace the lines. The exact moment things started to fray, but it's never just one thing, is it? It's 1,000 tiny threads, woven so tightly you don't even notice they're coming loose until the whole damn tapestry is gone. We met at a shitty bar called The Gutter in downtown Austin back in late 2011. My buddy David was celebrating his 25th birthday, and Rachel was there with one of her sorority sisters, Lauren. I remember she had this bright green scarf on, even though it was like 80 degrees inside. She just stood out, you know? Everyone else was sweaty and loud, but she was just perched on a bar stool, sipping a gin and tonic, looking amused by the chaos around her. David introduced us. I was 25, just out of grad school, trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. She was 24, already teaching second grade, completely in her element. We talked for hours that night, mostly about books and some obscure indie bands we both liked. I walked her back to her car, and she let me ramble about my thesis for a good 20 minutes without once looking bored. I remember thinking, this is different. I dated before, but it always felt like work. With Rachel, it was just easy, like slipping into a worn-in sweater. We started seeing each other pretty quickly after that. Coffee dates at Epic, long walks around Lady Bird Lake, getting cheap tacos from a truck on South Congress. We moved in together about a year and a half later, into this little duplex just off Burnett Road. It felt natural, totally unforced. Our routines clicked. She'd wake up early, always before me, and I'd smell coffee brewing. I'd usually stumble out to find her already halfway through her first cup, grading papers at the kitchen table, her hair still damp from a shower. I'd make breakfast on weekends, terrible pancakes most of the time, and she'd laugh at my attempts. We'd spend evenings watching bad sci-fi movies, arguing playfully over plot holes. Life was just good. Predictably, comfortably good. I remember one time, maybe 2 years in, she brought up something that felt a little off, but I brushed it aside. We were talking about future plans, vague stuff about getting a bigger place, maybe even kids someday. I was talking about some big career goal I had, something about getting published, and she just got quiet, like she often did when something was bothering her. She said, "Sometimes I feel like your dreams are so much louder than mine, Eric. Like there's not much room for mine to breathe." And I, being the brilliant conversationalist I am, probably said something like, "Nonsense, Rach. We'll make all our dreams happen, of course." And then changed the subject back to my latest project. I genuinely believed I was being reassuring. Now I see it as just steamrolling. She was trying to tell me something, and I just didn't hear it. Or rather, I heard it, but decided it wasn't a problem then. Another one that sticks out now, like a little barb, was around our engagement. We'd been together for 3 years, and everyone assumed we'd get married. I mean, we were basically already married in all but name. I finally got around to proposing a whole elaborate thing I'd planned at the Zilker Botanical Garden. She cried, said yes, it was beautiful. But a few weeks later, she brought up how it felt like I'd done it because it was time or expected, not because I desperately wanted to. I got defensive, of course, said that was ridiculous, that I loved her more than anything. I was sincere, truly. I did love her. But was it urgent? Was it a driving, undeniable need? Or was it just the next logical step in our very comfortable, very predictable life? I don't know if I ever truly examined that question. I just kept moving forward, assuming everything was fine because it felt fine to me. I guess that was a pattern, looking back. Her quiet observations, her subtle shifts in mood, her sometimes exasperated sighs when I'd lose myself in something, my work or some hobby, and forget to check in. I'd notice, sometimes, and I'd think, oh, she's probably just tired from school, or she's having a rough week. And I'd try to be more present for a few days, bring her flowers, take her out to dinner, but then the initial burst of effort would fade, and I'd slowly drift back into my own world, expecting her to just be there, to understand, to adapt. And she always did, until she didn't, or until she'd been adapting for so long that she just couldn't anymore. All those little sighs, all those little comments that I'd smooth over with a quick joke or a promise to do better, they weren't just transient feelings. They were cracks. And I just kept painting over them, convinced they weren't structural. The painting over those cracks, it got harder and harder. Things really started to change a couple of years ago, maybe even 3. The quiet observations from Rachel became less quiet, more direct. And my responses, or lack thereof, became a source of actual friction, not just a fleeting annoyance. It felt like we were speaking different languages, even though we were using the same words. Incident 1, the kitchen remodel. Spring 2021. We decided to finally remodel our kitchen, something Rachel had wanted for years. We'd saved up, planned it out. I was supposed to be managing the contractors, picking out materials, coordinating schedules while she focused on her demanding job. But my own work, a new project, at the tech firm where I'm a senior software engineer started eating up all my time. Long hours, tight deadlines, and I just let things slide. I'd nod along when Rachel talked about tile samples, say, "Yeah, that looks great, honey," without really looking. I'd put off calling the countertop guys thinking, I'll do it tomorrow. One Saturday morning, the contractor, a guy named Gus, not the dog, called me. "Hey, Eric, look, we need you to sign off on the cabinet order today, or we're going to miss the production window. Rachel said you were handling it." I remember the phone feeling heavy in my hand. I hadn't even looked at the final drawings he'd sent, let alone signed anything. Rachel was out getting groceries. When she got back, I tried to play it off. "Gus just called. We need to finalize the cabinets." She put the bags down on the floor, slow and deliberate. Her voice was calm, too calm. "Eric, those drawings have been in your inbox for a week. I asked you 3 times if you'd looked at them. You said you had it covered?" I stammered. I know. Things got crazy at work. I was going to get to it." She just shook her head, a familiar, exasperated look on her face. "You were going to..." That's the story of the last 2 years, isn't it? Everything important to us is always on your going to list. She ended up going to the showroom herself, picking out the final details, rushing it. We got the cabinets, but the whole process was tinged with her quiet resentment and my own shame. I told myself I'd make it up to her. I tried for a bit. Incident 2. David's engagement party, fall 2022. My best friend David, the same guy from the gutter bar, got engaged to his girlfriend, Chloe. We'd been excited for them, planning to go to their engagement party in Houston. Rachel bought a new dress, booked a hotel. I was supposed to be in charge of getting a gift, figuring out the drive down. As the date approached, work again became overwhelming. I had a huge presentation. I completely spaced on the gift. On the Friday morning, we were supposed to leave. Rachel came into my office, where I was still glued to my computer. "Are you ready to go in an hour, Eric?" David just texted. "They're almost there." I looked up, blinking. "Oh, right." Yeah, almost. Just gotta wrap this up. And did we get a gift? The air in the room just changed. Rachel stood there, arms crossed. "A gift? Eric, I reminded you 3 times this week. You said you had something in mind. I did. I got sidetracked. Look, we can pick up a gift card on the way. It's fine." She walked over to my desk, her voice low. "It's not fine. It's David. Your best friend. And you just forgot? Again? It's not about the gift, Eric. It's about showing up. It's about caring enough to remember what's important to the people you supposedly love." I felt a surge of defensiveness. I do care. You think I don't care about David? I'm buried under work, Rachel. I'm trying to keep this company afloat. She just stared at me. "No, you're not. You're trying to keep your career afloat, and everything else just withers." She went alone to the party, said she'd rather not drag my resentful, overworked ass down there. I stayed home feeling like a total jerk, but also, weirdly, a little relieved I didn't have to make small talk. That was a truly awful thought, and I hated myself for it. I did end up driving down the next day after my presentation, trying to surprise her. She was polite. That was worse than anger. My mom called me a few weeks later. She talked to Rachel. "Eric," she started, her voice gentle. "Rachel sounds distant. Is everything okay?" She said, "You've been working a lot." I tried to reassure her, telling her it was just a busy period. Mom didn't push, but I could hear the worry in her voice. "Just make sure you're taking care of her, honey. Relationships take work." I knew she was right, of course, but it felt like just another thing on my already impossible to-do list. Incident 3. The Forgotten Vacation. Summer 2023. Last year, we'd planned a trip to visit her sister, Melanie, in Colorado for a long weekend. Melanie had just had her second kid, a little boy named Finn. and Rachel was so excited to meet him. I was supposed to book the flights. Melanie had specifically told us about a specific window used when they'd be free around her husband's work schedule. I knew the dates. I put it off, told myself I'd do it later. Then later turned into too late. Rachel came home from school one evening looking tired. "Hey, did you book the flights for Melanie's place yet?" My stomach dropped. "Oh, not yet. I was going to do it tonight." She paused, then took a deep breath. "Eric, the dates Melanie gave us were for next week. She just texted me. The only flights left are like quadruple the price. And they're at horrible times, and they don't even line up with when her husband is home." I mumbled an apology. "I'm so sorry, Rach. I just totally forgot. I'll see what I can do," but it was too late. The trip was effectively canceled. Rachel called Melanie, feeling terrible, and had to explain. Later that night, Rachel came into the living room where I was watching TV. She looked utterly defeated. "You know, Eric, sometimes I think you do these things on purpose. Not consciously, maybe, but subconsciously. Like you don't want to go, so you just let it not happen. It's easier than saying no, isn't it?" "That's not fair, Rachel," I protested, genuinely hurt. "You think I wanted to miss seeing Finn? You think I want to disappoint you?" "I don't know what you want anymore, Eric," she said, her voice cracking. "I just know what you don't do." And she went to bed, leaving me alone with that thought. It gnawed at me. Was she right? Was there some part of me that was just lazy? Or worse, actively sabotaging? I couldn't admit it, not even to myself. I told myself she was just upset, that she didn't understand the pressure I was under. My internal monologue became an echo chamber of rationalizations. She doesn't get it. I'm doing this for us, for our future. But deep down, a cold dread was settling in. Something was fundamentally broken. I just couldn't bring myself to face what that might be. It was easier to just keep pushing, keep working, keep planning for a future that was slipping through my fingers. The fight we had a couple of days ago, the one that ended with Rachel leaving, it wasn't about a forgotten anniversary, not really. That was just the spark. The fuel had been gathering for years. A dry pile of resentment and neglect that I'd been blissfully ignorant of, or actively avoiding. It was Tuesday evening. I was home early for once, had actually made an effort to cook. Lasagna, like I mentioned. Slightly burnt, but edible. Rachel came home, dropped her bag in the entryway, looking tired as usual. She works so hard with those second graders, always bringing home mountains of papers to grade. I tried to sound cheerful. "Hey, dinner's ready." "Burnt a little, but, character." She offered a weak smile. "Thanks, Eric." We sat down. The usual quiet hum of the refrigerator, the distant rumble of a truck passing by outside. I started talking about my day, some minor office drama. She listened, nodded, and then I went into my triumphant reveal. "So, about our anniversary, right? October 17th? I've actually got it all planned. Reservation at Sal's, your favorite. And I got us tickets for that weird play, the one with the puppets, you remember?" I was beaming. I really thought I'd nailed it. Finally, I'd shown up. She put her fork down, the clatter sharp in the quiet kitchen. Her eyes, usually so warm and expressive, were flat. "Eric, our anniversary. When do you think it is?" I frowned. "October 17th? I just said. She shook her head slowly. "No, that's not it. That's not our anniversary." My heart started to pound, a slow, dull thud against my ribs. What was she talking about? I was so sure. "What?" "Of course it is. October 17th, 2013. We were married at the courthouse, remember? Your green dress, my ill-fitting suit." I even chuckled a nervous, hollow sound. She didn't laugh. She didn't even smile. "That was our first date anniversary, Eric. That's the day we met at the gutter in 2011. Our wedding anniversary is November 12th. 10 years this year. November 12th, 2013. Her voice was devoid of emotion, like she was reciting a fact from a textbook. And in that moment, the bottom dropped out of everything. November 12th. Not October 17th. My mind raced. Images flashing. The courthouse. Her white dress. Not green. No. That was a party when she wore the green scarf. The courthouse was a simple white lace dress she'd found last minute. November. The cool, crisp air. Not the mild warmth of October. I had misremembered. Not just misremembered, I had somehow, in my own self-absorbed world, conflated our first date with our wedding day. For 10 years. 10 years. My face felt hot. My ears were buzzing. A cold sweat broke out on my neck. I could feel my jaw hanging open. No. That can't be right. I always thought the words just trailed off. They sounded pathetic even to me. Rachel just sat there, looking at me. Not angry, not even sad, just weary. So incredibly weary. You never remember the real one, Eric. Not once. Every year it's the same. October, you make some vague plan, then you realize it's actually in November and you scramble. Or you just miss it, like you did last year. And the year before that, last year. I vaguely remembered her being quiet around November. I'd thought it was just the stress of the holidays ramping up the year before. I'd been knee-deep in that big project. I'd sent flowers eventually. I hadn't even realized I was constantly getting the date wrong. I hadn't realized I'd been celebrating the day we met as our wedding anniversary. It was so stupid. So incredibly, unbelievably stupid. My grand gesture, my big plan, was for the wrong date. My hand started to tremble. My stomach twisted into a knot. I felt a wave of nausea. I'd been so proud of myself, so convinced I was finally doing things right. And I wasn't even in the right month. Rachel, I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. I really thought... She cut me off, standing up slowly, pushing her chair back with a soft scrape. You thought... That's the problem, Eric. You thought you were remembering. You thought you were making an effort. But you never actually bothered to check. You never bothered to ask. You just operated on your own assumptions and expected me to just accept it. Over and over again, her voice was still quiet, but there was an edge to it now, a sharp, cutting certainty. This isn't about a date, Eric. Not anymore. This is about being seen, about being valued, about whether you even care enough to know the actual details of the life we've built together. She started clearing her plate, moving with a calm, deliberate speed that felt more terrifying than any shouting. The kitchen lights seemed too bright, illuminating every speck of dust, every unnoticed crack in the plaster. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air. I do care, Rachel. God, you know I care. This is just a mistake. A really dumb mistake. I can fix this. I can reschedule the dinner. We can go away in November. I promise. My voice was pleading, desperate, even to my own ears. She turned to face me, a half smile on her face that didn't reach her eyes. It was a sad, knowing smile. No, Eric. You can't fix this. Not with a rescheduled dinner. You can't fix years of feeling like an afterthought. Years of always being second to whatever project is consuming you. Years of me making excuses for you to everyone, to myself. She paused, picking up her car keys from the hook by the door. I need to breathe. I can't do this anymore. Not tonight. Not right now. And she walked out, just like that. The front door clicked shut, the sound echoing in the sudden, vast emptiness of the house. I sat there at the kitchen table, the burnt lasagna growing cold on my plate. the words November 12th ringing in my ears like a death knell. Gus, our dog, who had been snoozing peacefully by the back door, stirred, then whined softly, looking at the door, then back at me, as if asking, "Where did she go?" I had no answer for him, no answer for myself. The silence that followed her departure felt heavier than any sound. It was the sound of a decade crumbling. Rachel's been gone for 3 days now. It feels like 3 weeks, or 3 months. The house is a mess. Dishes piled in the sink, laundry overflowing the basket in the bathroom. I usually try to keep things reasonably tidy, but it's like a mental block. Every time I think about tackling it, I just can't. My work performance has taken a nosedive. I've missed calls, forgotten about meetings, staring blankly at my screen for hours. My boss, Arthur, emailed me yesterday asking if everything was okay, using that corporate speak tone that really means, get your act together, or else. I just replied with a vague personal issues and hoped it would buy me some time. The practical problems hit hard, fast. We have a joint account for all the household bills, mortgage, utilities, everything. I logged in yesterday just to check. She hadn't touched it, but then I looked at her individual savings account, which she'd mostly used for her own little things, personal spending. It was almost empty. Not completely, but significantly depleted. It just solidified this crushing feeling that she's really, truly gone, that she's thinking about starting over. I can't blame her, but it still stings. A deep, hollow ache in my chest. The mortgage is due next week. We both contribute, but it's a big chunk. I don't know how I'm going to cover it on my own, at least not comfortably. I've tried calling her, obviously. Left a dozen voicemails, sent 100 texts. None of them answered. Then a short text from her sister, Melanie, arrived last night. Rachel's with me, Eric. She's safe. She needs space. Please don't contact her for a few days. A few days. It felt like a lifetime. It hit me then that Rachel probably told Melanie everything. Melanie, who I actually like, and now I'm sure she hates my guts. Our friends, too. David and Chloe called separately. David tried to be supportive, said maybe I should give her time, but even he sounded tired, like he'd heard all this before. Chloe, though, was less subtle. She basically told me I'd been an idiot and Rachel deserved better. She's not wrong. The emotional roller coaster is real. 1 minute I'm numb, just staring into space. The next, a wave of gut-wrenching sadness washes over me, and I just start crying. Not sobbing, just tears. Hot, stinging tears. Then it's anger. Hot and sharp. Anger at myself, mostly. At my blindness. My stupidity. How could I have been so clueless? So self-involved? Then fear. Fear of losing her forever. Of being alone in this house that now feels too big, too empty. Gus, our dog, keeps looking for her, sniffing around the spots where she usually sits. He's confused, and I feel like I'm failing him too. I did try something. Last night, in a moment of utter desperation, I found a printout of our actual wedding photo, the one from the courthouse, in a dusty old photo album. Rachel, in that simple white lace dress, looking so happy, so genuinely happy. I found the little silver picture frame she kept on her nightstand and put the photo in it. Placed it right there on her side of the bed. It felt like a small, pathetic gesture. An apology without words, because all my words felt useless. I rearranged her favorite books on her bedside table, folded a blanket that had been discarded on the floor. It was a pathetic attempt to show I noticed her things, that I cared about her space. It felt like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. The worst part, the truly soul-crushing part, is this constant drip feed of new revelations. I found a journal she kept, tucked away in her nightstand. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Just a few pages from a few months ago. It wasn't about me specifically, not a rant. But she wrote about feeling invisible, about feeling like she was constantly performing for an audience of one, an audience that was usually distracted. She wrote about her dreams, about wanting to go back to school for art, about wanting to foster kids someday. Dreams I didn't even know she still had. Dreams I had unknowingly suffocated under my own ambition. My blind spots weren't just blind spots. They were entire, sprawling landscapes of her life that I'd never bothered to explore. And reading that, seeing her vulnerability laid bare, just twisted the knife even deeper. I've been so incredibly selfish. It's not just a wedding anniversary I missed. I missed the point of us. I missed her. And now, I might have missed her forever. It's been almost a week now. Rachel still isn't home. The house still feels enormous. I'm mostly just existing, going through the motions. Work is still a blur, but I'm trying to hold it together enough not to get fired. I've started actually tidying the house little by little, washing the dishes, doing the laundry. Not because I expect her to come home to a clean house, but because the chaos in my surroundings was just mirroring the chaos in my head. Cleaning helps a little just to have one thing I can control. I'm talking to a therapist next week. David helped me find someone, a guy named Dr. Chen. I never thought I'd be the type to go to therapy. Always figured I could just tough things out. But I can't. I really can't. My mom called again today. She's worried sick. I told her I'm getting help. She just said, "That's a good first step, Eric. A very good first step." What I've learned, if you can even call it that right now, is that love isn't just a feeling. It's an action. It's showing up. It's listening. Truly listening. Even when you're tired or distracted. It's making room for someone else's dreams. Not just tolerating them while you chase your own. I was so focused on building a future. I forgot to build our future. And I failed. Spectacularly. This whole thing, it changes everything. My career ambitions, which felt so all-consuming before, now seem hollow. What's the point of achieving all that if you're alone? I don't know what my future holds, whether Rachel will ever come back, whether we can even fix this. The thought of starting over, of facing a life without her, is terrifying. I just keep thinking about all the little things I took for granted. The way she'd hum, the way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when she was deep in thought. I've reached out to a lawyer just to understand the practicalities, if it comes to that. It feels surreal talking about divorce, about splitting assets after 10 years. I'm trying to be better. For me. For Gus. And maybe, just maybe, for Rachel. I don't know if she'll ever forgive me. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself for being such a blind fool. All I know is I'm finally seeing. But is it too late? Is there even a path back from here? I honestly don't know, but I have to try. Thanks for letting me just put this all out there. It helps just to write it down. To have it exist somewhere outside my own head.